It's hard for me to imagine playing anything but a Gibson, I think, just because now that instrument has felt like my voice for so many years. You know, for so long, you're the young person in the room. And then as you get older, you sort of become the next generation, and there's all these incredible young boys and girls that are playing the instrument, especially like seeing all the young women playing these days is so exciting to me. It's exciting to sort of see the instrument become something that is beloved in a real way, and that people are just as excited these days to play the instrument as I was when I was 8 years old. Pretty. Brand new to be old, wow. So, so pretty. Right off the bat, it's so loud. Sheesh, and I also would not think that that's a brand new mandolin. You know, it's like you can always tell when you pick up an instrument for the first time and you play a chord on it, a lot of times they sound closed right away, but not this. I grew up in a small little town, less than 1,000 people, no red light, you know, but a lot of music just as a way of life, really, in church, and people kind of getting together on the weekends and sitting around and jamming old folk songs and country songs. And so music was just filling the house all the time. My mom has a beautiful singing voice, but it was probably right before I turned 8 that my dad got a mandolin himself. Love it, you can get that like super bluegrassy dig. But then it can also be sweet, you know? Slowly, the bluegrass bug kind of just creeped in, and my dad started going to these local jams, really at like old community centers, like in the next town over where my parents were originally from, in Jamestown, Tennessee area. I started tagging along with my dad when I barely knew a few chords. I mean, my dad was teaching me stuff, so he was showing me my first tunes, my first chords, you know, as he himself was kind of in that early stage of learning. But I just learned so much from those local musicians and my dad, you know, kind of hauling me around to these jams every weekend. It was a beautiful way to get started in music and feel a real sense of love and community for just the whole thing. I think that's what made me know I want to do this for the rest of my life. I first got my Gibson mandolin kind of by chance. My mandolin that I was playing at the time, we knew we needed to kind of get a set up and get some frets, but we didn't know where to go. And so we remembered that Gibson had a shop in the Opry Mills Mall here in Nashville. We were there to get, you know, the frets seen about, but kid in a candy store, of course, wanted to play some instruments. And then there was a guy named Danny Roberts that was in there that day who worked for Gibson at the time, building mandolins, and he had recently seen me play on the Grand Ole Opry with Alison Krauss, and Gibson had just created a signature series Adam Steffi model at the time, and so he put that thing in my hands, and of course that was just the coolest thing. I mean, I'm playing a signature series by one of my mandolin heroes that I'd been trying to learn to play as much like him as possible at the time, and next thing I know, they said, well, how would you like to take this home? And sent me home with that mandolin. Put a mandolin like that in my hands at that age was so inspiring, and that was really the beginning of my relationship with Gibson, and getting to, you know, have that kind of quality instrument in my hands just made me want to play all that much more. Clear as a bell up there too. Man, that sounds great. It really does. It's like, I also think there's like a familiarness when I pick up a Gibson, and, you know, even though mine has been, you know, logged all around the world with me at this point, there's just something so comfortable and natural about playing this mandolin. I think when I got the Master model that I started playing in 2009, I mean, it was a great mandolin when I first got it, but I think there's sometimes no substitute for like the miles and time that you log with an instrument. there's a connection that you get with an instrument of both, you know, knowing what it does, knowing what it gives in return. And when I pick up even an instrument like this or an old Loar, there's just that connection.
Well, this is a July 9, the Holy Grail of Gibson F-5 mandolins, 1923. Very present sounding mandolin. It's all the final implementation of violin technology, much like Stradivarius and Guarneri built violins back in the 1700s. They are tremendous instruments, and that is basically what we developed in the recreation of the Lloyd Loar era style F-5 mandolin. We start with a scan of the particular instrument, or in this case, two instruments, and then measured the graduations of the top and the back. Basically develop a roadmap as to how we're going to build that particular instrument. You know, it goes to our engineering team. They do a great job. They're the people behind the nuts and bolts of how do we do it then, how do we do it now. We had technology then that we've come a little ways from, but still it's a lot of handwork. It's passionate people that want to do a great job to recreate something, and it is a piece of art. It's functional art. It's a beautiful instrument from top to bottom. We're recreating, we're not copying. We're recreating this with depth.
Kind of like there's the blueprint for how these instruments are built. There's kind of a blueprint for bluegrass set for us by like Bill Monroe and Latin Scruggs and the Stanleys, and I love that music so much. But you know, if you really kind of go back to how that all started, I mean, Bill Monroe himself was like the ideal innovator. He was pushing the boundaries and going places that people hadn't gone before, and he wasn't afraid to do that. It certainly inspires me to try to take that and go some places that maybe it hasn't been as well. Sometimes I'm surprised by the opportunities that, you know, I might get simply through playing this instrument, but it's a testament, I think, more so to the versatility of the instrument and the way that people view what this instrument can do these days, in part by all my heroes who have sort of paved that way and changed the mindset of what people think of when they think of the mandolin.
I'll just say that you were just taking it to so many different places too. My hat's off to you. I mean, just everything you're doing, you're just doing such a great job. Sarah makes that look so effortless.